because I have ADHD when it comes to making sure it's recording.
Only then.
I've had some, luckily, maybe. Well, on that brilliant note, great way to start a podcast. Welcome back to the Shenanigans, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have Orestis from Greece. Quite an interesting way to start an introduction call when I first got to hear from him. Again, big thank you to the admin of the Facebook book of Prague expat for letting me post and getting to connect with so many great people. We literally I was just telling you earlier today, we did a recording with a YouTuber, vlogger, and a bit of a sports addict in areas I didn't even think was possible to be sports in, but I won't spoil more on it. So, anyway, so with you, it was quite an interesting one because we go from theoretical physics to then this hypnotherapy. And yeah, the first question I remember asking is, what the hell is that? First of all, is it one of those things you see in movies? Yeah, I'm going to be very blank. And at the end, it's kind of what brought us to the topic today with the title From Physics to Hypnosis, Orestis Shift in Prague. Before we get to the hypnotherapy part, which I'm sure there's plenty to be said in regards to that, why don't we kind of take a step back? After all, you are an expat who has moved to Prague, but how would you describe your arrival in Prague? What brought you to Prague in the first place? What's the story behind that?
Okay, well, yeah, there is a story there, and thank you for having me, Loic.
Pleasure.
And everyone for watching, or listening, actually.
We are on YouTube
podcast
as well now,
okay.
So we also have a video, which is why we do apologize for the noise of the wind in the background, but makes it more natural.
Exactly. So I came to Prague, actually, not by choice.
Yep.
I was in academia, and I was applying for postdocs.
Okay.
And basically, I got an offer from here, from the Academy of Sciences, the physics department, physical new stuff, in the Academy of Sciences, and I was like, okay, looks like a good place, so I'm coming, essentially. But it's not that I could go to 10 different places in the world.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I want to continue in physics, I want to continue my career in academia, looks like a good group, so Prague it is.
Okay.
That's essentially the story of how I found myself in Prague.
Had you been to Prague before, or was it your first
No,
time?
never. I had no idea.
Did you search it up a bit online, or was it a full-on surprise as soon as you got here? I'm always wondering, because I was like, when I got here, it was kind of like, point on the map, let's go, we'll see how it is once we get there.
I searched a bit, actually, because I was excited because it's a European capital.
Yeah.
And before, I was in a smaller city.
Yeah.
And this didn't fit well for me. So I was looking actually an environment that has more English-speaking people, that is more international, and has more options.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited to come to a European capital, essentially. And that's what I liked in Prague. So I searched a bit, and I saw I can find things I like, and I can satisfy my interests. And I was like, okay, let's go. I was a bit reluctant. I was like, I've never been there before. I felt that.
Yeah.
This thing you're pointing to. But I was like, okay, I want to continue in this career. It looks better than as a location compared to where I was before. So, yeah, okay, I'm going to take my chances and try things out.
Well, speaking of shift, because let's be honest, between Greece and a landlocked country, it's quite a shift in itself. And here's another shift that kind of brings us to the key topic of today. So you put all this effort and work into the academic aspects for theoretical physics, and then, of course, I hope it wasn't just one day you woke up and you went, hypnotherapy it is. But first of all, what led you to that shift? Why that might be? And how was that shift done? Was it gradual or, as mentioned, very sudden?
Well, I feel like teasing a bit here,
Please,
know?
Yeah.
What if it was one day I woke up and I was like, hypnotherapy it is?
Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised.
It was more of a gradual process, I think, at least internally.
Okay.
So I think internally it was something that has been building inside me for some time.
Yeah.
And I think externally at some point the circumstances aligned.
Okay.
And then it has matured already inside me, and I was like, okay, let's do this, let's go to that. I tried a few different things before switching to that when I was deciding what to do after my academic career. And I was like, like I want to do something completely different. So an internal need I had, like through several years, was somehow to expand myself and expand my inquiry and like understand things more to the level of human experience, which was something science was not giving me, even though I was still finding it amazing. And this was showing up in different ways in my life across the years, and it was kind of building up
to that point. And did you see any connection between the two?
Like in retrospect, yes. But before, I want something completely different. But now I can see connections, and the connections are more in terms of storytelling, in terms of how we create structures of meaning. Because we may use different tools, like in hypnotherapy we use communication language, right? In science we use a lot of mathematics to prove our things, it's more logical, but still everything is generated by the mind. And
it's a very good point.
The structures of metaphors the human mind generates to describe the world have, if we remove the content of what we actually describe, there are a lot of similarities. So I can give an example because this is a bit abstract. Like if we take the hero's journey, if we take any stories, there is the notion that a hero has a calling and they have to cross a certain threshold. And once they cross the threshold, the adventure starts. So there is, if we take this notion of threshold and we generalize it, and what is a threshold, right? Where else do we meet this notion of threshold? And then we can start thinking like black hole horizons or many other things in the universe. So there is this ideas of something that gets crossed, and after that the journey changes. Is it the same thing? No, but does it have the same structure in terms of telling a story or a barrier that gets passed? Or the tunneling in quantum mechanics, where something can go through a potential without having enough energy, can just pass through.
Okay.
So there are these notions there by which the human mind, through different tools, creates meaning.
That went very deep, very easy. Okay, well, I feel we kind of already answered the next question. As we can imagine, you didn't jump into hypnotherapy for it to be just a hobby. You work in this field more as a profession, which I'll go straight into backing it up a bit. But when researching a bit about the podcast structure with our dear guest today, I didn't know myself, but the American Medical Association and American Psychological Association, APA, since 1958, have recognized hypnosis as a legitimate medical therapy. And I think for most of us who are watching today, if I hear the word hypnotherapy, and it's what we were discussing last time, first thing that comes to mind is what you see on movies, show. But, on top of what you've already described, which gives us a bit of an insight into what you can expect to go into hypnotherapy, how would you explain it to, I feel like how someone would go to a prompt on ChatGPT, explain me like if I was a 10-year-old boy and you had to make it down. But it's kind of that. It's how would you explain it in simple terms? And what's actually going on, and what does it feel like? I mean, in a way you have explained it, so I guess the first part is more relevant here.
I want to, it's good to explain it. Also, a bit before we explain it, it's important to give some context.
Definitely.
It's important to give some context because, right, like when we think of hypnosis or hypnotherapy, it's something that exists in the culture. We have an awareness of it. So, and a lot of it doesn't match the reality of what it is, but somehow reflects two aspects of it. So, what I want to say about that is that essentially there is not hypnotherapy or hypnosis is an umbrella term. It's not
Okay.
a clearly defined thing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean.
And of course, there are like specific things that fit more to it,
Mhm.
but there are also other things that fit in it in the wider perspective. So, if we take a wide perspective, which reveals the essence of
Mhm.
it, I would say hypnosis, and hypnotherapy is doing therapy with hypnosis, is intentionally engaging with the immersive aspects of the human experience.
Okay.
And that means something, of course, which
Yeah.
is good to unpack. I can see you thoughtful. You even
Yeah,
put your
I-
glasses
I
down.
got the sun blinding me right now for those watching us.
Okay.
I feel the glasses also fit perfectly with the context as well. Like, wait, what? No,
Yeah.
it's a fair point. Okay, and from your, because you said it yourself, it's a bit of an umbrella. How does that look like as well from a business perspective? Because you run a business in it. How do you explain it to your customers the first time they kind of join a session on what to expect?
Yeah, that's what I tell them, more or less. That I explain them the way I do it.
Yeah.
Because when someone comes to me, there is no point in telling them how other people do it, because it's an umbrella term. There are different ways to practice it that look different way.
There isn't a pure definition out of it. Yeah.
Huh?
There isn't like a pure definition.
No, there
root
isn't.
definition out of it.
There isn't actually like academic texts.
Okay.
Agree, there is no pure definition. So it is about essentially. It's best to unpack what I said before, like, and intentionally engaging with the immersivity of human experience. So if we think of what happens, like now, people are watching at us, are listening to us, right? So an example I like to give is that as we take this information in, we don't analyze it word by word. We don't analyze it letter by letter. Our mind automatically generates meaning.
Okay.
So our mind generates automatically meaning all the time.
In the sense, like it tries to find meaning constantly, or
Well, yeah,
yeah.
that's what the mind does. That's what the brain does.
I always wonder if that was like a safety mechanism of the brain to just wanting to find meaning because it has to, otherwise the unknown is just too scary for it to deal with it.
Well, it is a survival mechanism.
Yes.
It's like we are trying to predict what will follow up.
Yeah, we don't like the unknown.
Yeah, but that's how we make sense of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And this happens automatically.
No fair. No fair.
And this is an immersive experience by itself,
Yeah,
isn't it? Like we are in it, we are surrounded in it.
yeah.
So when we use communication
Uh-huh.
intentionally to point the attention to specific parts of this experience, then these specific parts of this experience become similarly automatic and similarly immersive,
Okay.
but it becomes focused.
Yeah. Okay. So, because I do want to give a chance to the audience to be able to discover more in regards to how all this works.
Yeah,
Do you have a website or something that we can check you out with? That people
yeah,
can...
yeah. I mean, if people want to check more about me, they can go to my website. It's my name, really. It's like orestisv.com.
Pretty straightforward. We'll have it
Yeah.
in the description directly. And
It's, so I want to return
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
before to the previous point, because like essentially all these crazy hypnotic phenomena people see, like all the things they may see about hypnotherapy, or people may see in stage hypnosis, right? The ridiculous things like clack like a chicken, all that stuff.
I really hope he's not going to do this on this podcast.
after we finish, like,
I'll keep the video
I promise.
cameras rolling.
but all these things happen essentially by engaging the human experience in such a way. That's the underlying mechanism behind all that. And the rest is just like theatrics or just content. So in some sense, it's not very different than watching a movie in the cinema.
Okay. And how is it perceived from one culture to another? Because I'm guessing in Greece and in Czech Republic, they must not look at it the same way when you first mentioned that you do this.
I have no idea how it's perceived in Greece.
Okay, you haven't
because I
mentioned it
started
then?
doing it here in Czech
But you haven't
Republic.
had the chance of kind of getting to discuss it from, because you mentioned you work with an international type of clientele, not only here physically, right?
Yeah.
And you see like cultures look at this differently from one country to another, or is there a sense of understanding from a more general point of view?
Hmm. I don't think I have enough data to say like, oh, this culture says it like that
No, it's
or
not
the
necessarily to
other.
point fingers. It's more in the sense of if you would say some particular
But I can say,
personalities, if we may go that direction, might perceive it a bit more.
yeah.
Can you see where I'm going?
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Sorry,
Yeah. How people see it and what people may go more towards it and what
not the
people...
cultural part, because we're not here to point fingers.
Yeah.
That country, no.
Oh, sorry,
Can't
I
do
got
business with
confused
them.
because we went with the countries in the beginning. I got a bit confused.
To catch myself on that one.
Happens. Like you see, like my brain did a predictive processing error in this moment. It was predicting with a past idea.
It's fine. It's gonna be fine.
So yeah, I think like in general people, because hypnosis has this like element of something that's like out there, you know, and sometimes like this usually like acts as a divider. So there are either people who are like really avoid it, they're like you know, or people who really want to go towards it, either because they are amazed.
Sense of curiousness, maybe as well.
Yeah, there is a curiosity sometimes, or there is this element of I've tried everything else, nothing else has worked for me, so now I'm gonna go for this thing that's out there because either I've been avoiding it so far or I believe this thing has some magic power, and by going for it, this will really help me.
Okay.
Now, I want to clarify, this is not a requirement. I don't believe that people should have tried everything else to go to the hypnotherapy.
It just brings me to wanting to understand who usually seeks out this kind of support as well.
Yeah, it just
Because
that's
I'm
how
guessing
it works.
there isn't a specific type of persona that goes to. No,
Yeah, I think I get a lot of people who have tried other things and they feel like they can't find an answer to what they're looking, to the improvements they seek, to whatever they seek in life. You know, they want to improve through other means. Either they've tried other things and somehow it didn't happen for them, or they feel that what's inside them is a bit somehow too big, and they, from the beginning, they trust that only something that's a bit further from everything else, culturally,
okay.
will help
I
them.
see the connection now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But what would you tell those people then? Because of course, you know, we're not going to say one approach is better than another one, but maybe for those listening, you know, whether it's out of curiosity or so, how would you? I can't. I'm trying to figure out if I want to ask either if it's what's the key difference between going the approach with with a hypnotherapist compared to other ones, but I don't think that's very valid to really want to dig more on the comparison point. But I'm trying to figure out, like, not of a selling point, but like, if I'm a person listening and I know I've got something and I'm still not 100% sure which direction I should take. Yes, on one angle I could try a bit of everything.
yeah.
But on the other angle, what would you maybe tell them in regards to what they can expect if they were to go your direction?
Okay.
If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
It's kind of on the spot, this one. But
Yeah. I see what you mean. I think there are like two questions there. One question is what they can expect if they come, you know, my direction, and what one should consider when they try to find a specialist to address
exactly.
something.
Without, you know, saying one is better than the other, just
Yeah,
what's
exactly,
explained,
exactly. So I want to first, like, it's a more general thing, what
absolutely.
one should pay attention, right? So, like, I think the most important thing, and this is like also something that has to do with psychology, is that the specific methods don't contribute a lot to the result always. Like they have some effect, you know, like there is a difference between CBT and there is a difference between hypnotherapy, other things, but the most important factors are about the connection the person feels to the therapist, to the coach, whatever, to the facilitator of the experience. If there is a strong connection, if they believe this method it is for them, if they believe they resonate, you know, like you check someone's social media and you feel you resonate, you feel this person can help me. This matters more than everything else, actually. This is like one of the most important things. It's not so much, you know, because it's a human connection we are building through these processes, right?
Yeah.
So if there's a feeling of this human connection already there, this plays a significant leverage to get any good result we want.
Well, that makes it much easier than reading online every bloody article till you figure out your bro.
Exactly, right? And it's like, oh, like they have studied this and this and this.
Yeah,
and
exactly, yeah.
Like
That's all
it
great.
matters to a degree, right?
It
Like,
does.
but also, you know, the connection with the other person matters a lot as well.
It does, because at least from my own point of view, of course, on that one, but you're kind of putting yourself in a vulnerable position. Well,
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, regardless of the profession, you're a stranger to me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be opening up about or going deeper into certain aspects of my life,
Yeah.
whichever the angle. So yeah, I do definitely agree with the connection. And it's not something we, highlight that much, even though
No.
it's almost obvious at this point.
Yeah.
And well, okay, and connecting it, because well, when it comes to making a genuine connection with the person and the professional, I think it also comes down to better understanding how it also helped him, the person himself, because at the end of the day, you said it in our previous discussion, the introduction, that this work helped you connect more deeply to your own self. What have you learned towards yourself in regards to leveraging this? And the other one, which is a bit more tricky, we were also saying it before, which is when it comes to other people's inner minds, how can you perceive, how you've seen it, how they react or so. But I think the first part is much more important, because not only is it about connecting it to before connecting with the professional, but also on a human aspect, but also better understanding how it impacts him, because it feels more authentic, if I may say, to a degree. In a podcast, we always look to get someone who doesn't just speak as a monologue like I'm doing now, where he's just putting, where he's just putting himself out there, but more someone where maybe someone on the other side of the listener side think, hey, maybe I could try that as well. That seems quite fun. He's having a good time, I'm curious to learn more. I'm curious to discover. But that comes by being authentic, and the concept of being authentic, at least to me, is by being honest to yourself as well in regards to what it brings to you, and not just to the others, what you're trying to bring to the others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, I'll let you answer the question. I'll be quiet.
What it brought to me, essentially, in connecting with my own mind. I mean, what I say also to people when they come to visit me is that there are two aspects to it. One aspect is, to help someone get the results they want and improve the outcomes in life. But sometimes before that, something else has to happen. And what I often find has to come before that is like an expansion of the awareness of what it means this human experience we have, right?
Yeah.
How we can acknowledge different things we experience and how we can work with them. So there is an expansion of awareness, it's like you have like a piece on a chessboard, right? And it kind of like, from becoming a soldier that can go only forward, a little pawn, it gets upgraded. It becomes a queen, and can explore so many more directions.
Good breakdown.
Yeah. So, and like realizing that there are all these other directions our mind can take is a major step in overcoming in everything else that troubles us, because usually it's like the problems we experience, or anything we experience, is like we are stuck in a little movie set we are.
It's beautiful. I love that. I never thought of it that way. I'm just visually seeing. It's like, fucking hell, he does have a point.
Yeah, and we are in the movie, and the movie looks real, right? If you've seen like IMAX, it's like,
Yeah. Let's do some promotion today.
But from someone looking from above, it's like we're in this western town, and we are on the main street, and everything looks real. But from someone from above, it's just the facades of the buildings with the wooden poles making them stand. So when we realize that we are just in this movie set and we can just move to another movie set, or we can move out in the city, like out in the real life, we realize how many more things life has by moving our mind differently, sometimes even standing in a specific point. And I'm going to give a concrete example, because a metaphor, about what this means. Yeah. But for example, like one issues I had is with chronic pain. Mm-hmm. And I found that essentially what I thought is just pain, it actually comes from anxiety. Okay. Yeah. And when I realized that pain comes from anxiety, and then by dealing with my anxiety, I don't say it's like that for everyone. That's how it was for me and some other people.
Disclaimer.
yeah. Disclaimer. It's important to say there are like variations among people, right? So I was able to see behind the pain, and deal with the psychological factor that was causing it. And when I started dealing with the psychological factor, I started realizing that, it feels like there is this anxiety feels like a specific thing in my body. Mm-hmm. So I connected with my experience differently. And this thing, when I feel it, that has I started giving it colors, or sometimes it was feeling like there is goes in different directions. And by realizing, being able to see finer the details of that, I was able to address it with more accuracy.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I'm just taking 2 steps back, because I'm thinking in a way it's ironic how you sharing that example. No, concretely,
yeah.
And I do say ironically in a sarcastic approach, but how in a way it's almost like, okay, if we go back, yes, the awareness aspect is definitely something we all have. We all kind of live in a little movie set, but it's true that anyone who takes 2 steps back, we're able to visualize other things that we haven't seen before. Yeah. But I feel that, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be completely off, but I feel that your work makes me, instead of having a bloody octopus with 50,000 tentacles, where I'm seeing the 50,000 tentacle and I just don't bloody understand what is what, which is connected to what does this mean, and so on, you support me in giving me some form of direction.
Basically, yes. So
we did it. I understand.
yeah. So
but it's
what I do, I'm like a guide.
Yeah.
People are on a path.
Yeah.
They meet me along a part of their path because they need some support. Mm-hmm. And I use my expertise and my intuition and my experience and my education to be a guide along the path.
That's brilliant.
And the thing is, we discover the path together.
Yeah.
They don't know the path. I don't know it in advance. That's the thing.
It must be tricky for you as well sometimes. Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, it is, from a professional standpoint, it mustn't be easy sometimes to hear some, there must be some stories that you're human as well, right? So there's going to be also, you're going to hear things that is going to hit you as well. How do you manage to keep that neutrality moving forward? And
yeah, it's
I know it's not on the question list, but I'm very curious.
It is one of the things that I had to train myself, and I think every person who does this work trains themselves on it, because fundamentally I play different roles simultaneously. So there is a side of me that is there and is empathetic and compassionate with the other person, because I have to be with them, so we enter their experience together. At the same time, there is a side of me that's a bit distanced from that, because I shouldn't get pulled too much in it. I still should be able to direct it. So I kind of have this double experience. I'm simultaneously in and simultaneously a bit further.
You got 2 feet on 2 separate chairs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean,
That's tricky. That's bloody tricky.
It's one of the tricky aspects. So I have to maintain like a wider awareness while also, being connected to them and what's happening in the moment.
I'm kind of wondering now if is it like, let's say you end up getting too deep and you get stuck as well in the process. Is the concept, because we know with psychologists they have their own psychologists, right?
Yeah.
Is it this similar approach with the hypnosis? You might be open to the idea of seeing the hypnosis for you, or the fact that you understand hypnosis gives you the advantage brackets of being able to connect with yourself without the need for a third party.
Well, it's both actually,
Mhm.
and so having this awareness through my
Mhm.
own studies and like the expansion of the experience,
Mhm.
I'm able to work better with myself,
Yep.
right? But also all of us, no matter how aware we are, how actualized we may be, we have our own blind spots. We cannot be good mirrors to ourselves. So yeah, like I work with other colleagues, and we help each other out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Is there a big community of hypnotherapists?
Well, I think like there are different communities, like there are different schools
Mhm.
who teach in different styles.
Okay.
That's why I said before, like there isn't a unified thing.
Yeah, one way.
You can expect the same experience
Yeah.
from everyone. And within the communities I'm in, which is like different organizations through which I've studied, yeah, we are a few thousand people in some of them,
Jesus, that's not
and
bad.
and we, we help each other. Yeah,
Bloody hell.
yeah.
Where are you guys hiding? Just you've been here for 6 years. It's the first time I meet a hypnotherapist.
It's still not a very popular avenue. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's fun.
Wow, I think I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, bloody hell, we went deep in this. It's very interesting, and I think you could probably dive deeper in this for hours, because you really take a step back, and I'm no longer like sitting here as Loic on a podcast. I'm looking at myself, looking at the situation,
Exactly.
and trying to better understand what exactly is the goal. And it's like, bloody hell, no, it's very interesting, and I'm glad we were able to, through this discussion, kind of break it down in a way that's a bit more digestible, because at the end, there's a fine line between that, I don't want to say philosophical, but to describe it in a way where it's still understandable without going too deep, because we know it's there, but it's so much of an unknown that we've never taken the step to go there and to see it for ourselves, that if I start discussing about it, you kind of lose that person in the interest, which is stupid in its own right, but it's a fact.
It is a fact. Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay, and I'll let you answer the question while I change the shifting of the lovely umbrella. It's
Yeah, I can
blinding
see
us
the
now.
the
I've
sun
got a whole
is
sun in
blinding
my
you.
face. But I'll let you guys answer the last question.
Okay.
You've got shift, Greece to Prague, physics to hypnotherapy. Is there any other major shift that we should be aware of, or that you're planning to do? And more, in other words, what's to you like the next big step, even from a business perspective, professional perspective? What's the next step for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to actually combine different ideas together. So this thing that you said, that we try to be specific, but also like go a bit meta, so we reveal some of the wider context. And so I'm trying to bring different ideas together about commonalities in areas between personal development, or psychology if you want,
Mhm.
and science and physics, but more in the terms of descriptive structures, and not so much in terms of explanation that this works like that.
Okay, yeah.
Right, as we talked about the
Yeah,
black holes
yeah,
in the
yeah.
beginning, right? So, and I want to do that, and this has been done to some extent. Like there are people who talk about quantum healing and all that, right? But I want to find a way to do it without all these metaphysical aspects.
Yeah, because if you bring me to an office that says quantum therapy, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's this guy gonna do?
So I have to say, like, I had some of these experiences myself, and I realized they really speak to something.
Mhm.
And then I was like, since they really speak to something, okay, how can we create that? How we can make that happen
Mhm.
without having all these metaphysical aspects in it? Like basically give this experience that has kind of a mystical tone, but more from a grounded poetic perspective.
It's almost like marketing. Is how do you take something so complicated and simplify it in a way that?
Yeah.
But it's to beyond that. It's kind of like, how do you explain how Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm going to say. How do you explain the concept of air, right?
Yeah.
We know it's there. We have it all around us, but nobody's going to be able to explain to you in a simple fashion why it's all around you, yeah? And it's kind of breaking it down. But I'm using the example of air in a more funny tone of, coming back to what you're saying, it's we're not reinventing the wheel.
No, we are not.
We're not. You said it yourself. It's there. It's part of us. And you're a guide, and I feel that's already an amazing way of just breaking it down. But how do you avoid using, well, use your term, I would say even buzzwords at this point, because in itself it's marketing, right?
Yeah.
Utilizing those aspects.
It is, yeah. It is
Trivial.
marketing, but also they speak to something like, so when people use the word quantum in all these systems, or they essentially speak to something magical, to something beyond.
Yeah.
The same way the word hypnosis fits in our culture. It's the thing a bit out there.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was curious about was how we can take an actual model of physics, something that comes, let's say, from string theory and stuff like that, because I was studying string theory and black holes, and with that create a model for personal development, for facilitating things that respects the scientific description, gives these experiences,
The balance.
but without having the idea that one needs to go in their past lives and all these things. And sometimes people may choose that, and that's fine. I just want to clarify that, but also how we can do it without it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, because I come from a science perspective, it was very difficult for me to have these experiences with all this, what felt for me back then a lot of metaphysical baggage.
Okay.
That
I know that one.
like now I can see beyond it, I can see
Yeah.
behind it, so I don't feel so defensive towards it. And I believe like this can give something to other people who, may benefit from these experiences, but they just don't relate to this metaphysical idea so much. Yeah. So that's where I am. That's what I'm building. We'll see what will come out of it.
Here you are on a podcast, so who knows? If anyone's interested in learning a bit more, go try, be curious, go try is the best way I can approach it. Or even, before, don't jump straight into a session, just reach out. We'll have his contact details in the description, his website. Ask. I'm certain, as per me, we had 6 questions. I think we've had 12 so far in the discussion. Initially we had 6 and we went above. There's a lot of questions surrounding it. After now a good 40 minutes of discussion with you, I have a better clarity surrounding it. Of course, did some research as well on it. But I feel, that's what I say to the audience. Reach out, ask your question. Don't feel obliged to jump in straight into a session.
I mean, definitely, like we discussed a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think it's natural if people have questions or if they want to clarify something. So I'm open, like someone can send me a message in socials, like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I can either send them a reply or point them somewhere. Like, the point is not to just, like, come for a session necessarily. It's, like, to add clarity and, create more clarity in the world. Right?
Yeah, I like
eventually,
that.
like.
Yeah, and I didn't mean it either in the sales approach of trying to push people towards a session, to be clear. No. Someone's going to mix this videotape into something I didn't say. See that coming. No, I meant it more in the sense that, it's important to be able to connect as well with the person that you're going to be speaking with beforehand, so that you can better understand yourself. What the hell are you getting yourself into in the first place? First of all, and more importantly, reflect as well on what exactly is the scenario you're trying to better understand. No, I'm general in the sense that, me after a discussion with you, I'm like, okay, I'm much more open to the idea of what this is, to the idea of saying, you know, this could be interesting to have a session. You become more curious about it because you just took the time to sit down with the person, get to discover it a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm
It's
trying
like,
to angle it.
yeah, it's like we all have our internal criteria
Yeah.
before we make certain decisions, and sometimes we're not always aware of them.
Yeah.
But sometimes we feel them through intuition,
Mm-hmm.
and when they get satisfied, when we go with our curiosity and allow ourselves to ask the right questions, then we kind of feel like a yes towards entering something.
I like that.
And that's an important thing to have, right? Before we enter any experience in life. Yeah.
And the quote of the day goes to No, it's beautiful. I like it. All right. Well, to our lovely audience, you know the drill. Click subscribe if you're new to follow us on Instagram. Check out the latest episodes that we released as well. And see you next time for the next episode. And thank you very much, Orestis, for joining us on today's podcast.
Thank you too. And thanks everyone for listening, watching, and being with us. Yeah.
All right. Take care, guys. Cheers.
Okay. Bye.